Good morning and welcome to our Sunday Satsang here in Bangalore. Let's begin now with prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Mary Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswarji, beloved Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, beloved Swamiji, we humbly bow to you all. Divine Mother, bless us, open our hearts to thy unconditional love and our souls to thy joy. Remind us again and again to act as your instruments, to share your joy with all whom cross our path, and help us to be vehicles to send thy light and healing power continuously to this needy world. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We'll now have our fire ceremony. Om Bhur-Bhuvah Swaha. Om Tatsavitu Varniyam. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodhayato. Om Bhur-Bhuvah Swaha. Om Tatsavitu Varniyam. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodhayato. Om Bhur-Bhuvah Swaha. Om Tatsavitu Varniyam. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodhayato. Om Bhur-Bhuvah Swaha. Om Tatsavitu Varniyam. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodhayato. Om Bhur-Bhuvah Swaha. Om Tatsavitu Varniyam. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodhayato. Om Bhur-Bhuvah Swaha. Om Tatsavitu Varniyam. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodhayato. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivaranam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityo Mokshiyam Amrita Swaha. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivaranam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityo Mokshiyam Amrita Swaha. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivaranam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityo Mokshiyam Amrita Swaha. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivaranam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityo mokshiyam amritat swaha. Om Triambakam yajame sugandhim pushtivaranam Urvarukamiva bandhanam Mrityo mokshiyam amritat swaha. Om Triambakam yajame sugandhim pushtivaranam Urvarukamiva bandhanam Mrityo mokshiyam amritat swaha. Om Triambakam yajame sugandhim pushtivaranam Urvarukamiva bandhanam Mrityo mokshiyam amritat swaha. Om swaha. Om swaha. Om swaha. We'll now have our chanting and meditation. Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Paramahansa Yogananda Jai Guru Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda Jai Guru Jai. Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai. Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda Jai Guru Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda Jai Guru Jai. Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai. Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda Jai Guru Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda Jai Guru Jai. Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai. Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda Jai Guru Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda Jai Guru Jai. Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai. Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda Jai Guru Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda Jai Guru Jai. Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai. Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai Guru Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda Jai Guru Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda Jai Guru Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda Jai Guru Jai. Listen to my soul song. Listen to my heart song. Listen to my soul song. Listen to my heart song. In secret in my soul, I will gather blossoms for thee. Dipping them in devotion, I will lay them at thy feet. Listen to my soul song. Listen to my heart song. Listen to my soul song. Listen to my heart song. In secret in my soul, I will gather blossoms for thee. Dipping them in devotion, I will lay them at thy feet. Dipping them in devotion, I will lay them at thy feet. Listen to my soul song. Listen to my heart song. Listen to my soul song. Listen to my heart song. In secret in my soul, I will gather blossoms for thee. Dipping them in devotion, I will lay them at thy feet. Dipping them in devotion, I will lay them at thy feet. Listen to my soul song. Listen to my heart song. Listen to my soul song. Listen to my heart song. In secret in my soul, I will gather blossoms for thee. Dipping them in devotion, I will lay them at thy feet. Dipping them in devotion, I will lay them at thy feet. Dipping them in devotion, I will lay them at thy feet.
అట్లాంటిది ఒకటి ఇట్లా
In preparation now for meditation, let's inhale and tense and vibrate our bodies. Throw the breath out. Again, let's inhale, tense and vibrate. Throw the breath out. And one last time. Tense and vibrate. Throw the breath out. And now let's offer the love of the heart, awaken through chanting, up to the point between the eyebrows, calling to God there. Reveal thyself, reveal thyself. And feel his response ever growing in our hearts. We'll meditate now for about 10 minutes. And once again, good morning. The reading here is from Whispers from Eternity, entitled, Teach me not to be deceived by the senses. O divine teacher, train me to recognize the difference between my soul's lasting happiness and the passing pleasures of the senses. Keep my eyes open, that I be not deceived by my senses, decked out as they are in stolen royal trappings, and in the mirage cloak of false happiness, as, thus disguised, they try to enter the mansion of my life. Discipline my unwise, wayward senses, that my pleasures be spiritualized, and that I look ever beyond the illusion of glittering, visible forms to find divine joy hidden, simply dressed in the white robe of humility. And from The Path by Swami Kriyananda, this is drawn from the chapter, Work versus Meditation. Prior to this reading, I wanted to share that Swami, as a really very, very bright individual, truly brilliant, had a tremendous battle with his intellect. He said that he could best anyone in debate, and he was really proud of his abilities to do that. And so when he came to Master, he realized that Master, of course, was a bhakti, and he was so drawn to being rid of this tendency to, again, rely on the intellect and orbit around his own ego, all of these things. And so Master, recognizing this, did everything that he could to help Swami Kriyananda open his heart. And so the reading, and this is Swamiji. Nightly I chanted Master's translation of a song by the great Bengali saint Ram Prasad. Will that day come to me when saying, Mother, Mother, my eyes will flow with tears. Gradually, I found myself becoming transformed inwardly. I began to feel I had some cause for self-congratulation when one day word came to me that Master had been talking with a group of the monks in Encinitas. During the course of the conversation, he had remarked lovingly, look how I have changed Walter. Walter was the name that Master called Swami Kriyananda. And Swami found that very curious. I don't know if he ever asked him why he called him Walter, his last name being Walters, but there it was. Master said that the honeymoon period that we have when we're first getting on the spiritual path is so blessed that if we could make that experience, that honeymoon period when we first read that book, perhaps the autobiography of a yogi, or a friend told us about some spiritual truth that resonated for us on a very deep level. If we could remember smriti, memory, so important on the spiritual path, if we could really do all that we could, all that we can to rekindle that fire, that first moment where we found God, found Guru. Then, as Yogananda said, we would find God very quickly. this honeymoon period really is a place of true spiritual pilgrimage. And so it's a good thing as we are trying to avoid, as Yogananda called, the slogging middle ground that comes to probably everyone for whatever length of time. And it's not a negative experience. It's a time of testing, yes, obviously. But again, it's meant to open our hearts and to brighten our consciousness. That's the only reason, of course, that God, the Divine Mother, tests us, is to help us to grow spiritually. And so if we could remember that honeymoon period, I remember when I first got on the path, I was raised in Southern California, and a friend gave me this book, The Master Said, which is now Sayings of Yogananda. And I looked at Yogananda's picture, and that was it for me. It was an experience that was so deep that I knew that my entire life would be dedicated to aspiring to be a good disciple, although I hardly knew what that meant. But I wanted to be in Masters of Vibration. As a matter of fact, when I read that he had passed in 52, I was only a year and a half at that time. I thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing on this earth plane? I've missed the boat. I want to be with him. And I thought, well, what am I going to do about that? And as I matured spiritually, I realized, as he said himself, that I live in your hearts. And so I do have this thought that over the incarnations, the many incarnations that we've been seeking God, that all of us perhaps have taken turns in spending time with the Master on this physical plane, at his feet, drawing from his vibration. And other times, then we find that the Master passed, and so we have to seek him all the more from within. And both of these experiences are vital to us spiritually. I remember too that in reading that book, it was the impact of Yogananda's face. Certainly, I'd never seen, again, such beauty there in a human face. But also, it was the first stanza of that book, which said, yearn for God like a drowning man yearns for breath. And if I had been on a desert island, and that was the only thing that I had to read and to reread and to meditate on and to make my own, that would have been sufficient. Because to this day, it makes perfect sense to love the Lord our God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength, with all of our energy. And that's what magnetism is all about. The shortcut on the spiritual path is to understand the law of magnetism, that as we spend more time in the presence of the Guru, more time meditating, feeling that he is meditating through us, serving through us, the more we find that we're able to draw from his magnetism. One time he said to one of the monks, stealing my magnetism. Very good. Because that's why these great ones come. They come as this great geyser of magnetism, this enormous power, especially the avatars that truly have the power to bring a million people, millions of people to God, if there is that receptivity. And so to remember the honeymoon period, when I came to Ananda, and it had been a struggle, maybe not as much of a struggle as some people go through, but for me, being a teenager, it was 2 years from high school until reaching Ananda a few years later, trying to find my spiritual family. And it was really, really something that I felt was urgent. I had to have my spiritual family. And so when finally I came to Ananda and I was able to be there, as a retreatant, and I was in seventh heaven, met Swami there that first night. I walked around those grounds, and Swami Kriyananda, this was in 1970, had just founded the retreat a couple of years earlier. And so he was just brand fresh and clean and vibrant, but especially it was the vibration. And in seeing Swami and seeing the various disciples, I really felt that I had somehow, some way found heaven on earth. And so it's a good thing to go back to those times when we first discovered God in our own way, in our own unique way. It's why one of our favorite things to do at Ananda is to ask people, how did you get on the spiritual path? How did you find Ananda? Because in that way, really, we're going on spiritual pilgrimage with them. Because this, to spiritual aspirants, to disciples, is such a near and dear memory, and really an immediate memory, because it comes alive even in the telling. I was sharing with a friend, and I appreciated this story because I hadn't heard it before, that in Palo Alto, where Roma and I had served for a couple of years prior to coming to Ananda, they had a very, very well-established school. And so this friend said that in the earlier years, that of course there was no school, and it was just a family that was looking and had been looking for a place that their child could enter a school. And there wasn't any school there in that area that resonated for them. Plenty of choices, but for whatever reason, it didn't, touch their hearts. And so somehow in discovering Ananda, they found that there was a teacher there that was willing to start with one student in one of the apartments there in the community in Palo Alto. And that is how the school started. And this is not, really Ananda being 50 years. This is not a unique story, although each one of them is thrilling, that it has been repeated again and again and again. These small beginnings, these little seeds that then grow into a mighty tree, touching many people's lives. Swami Kriyananda has said over the years something that is very profound and very true. He said, if a person was in a city and practicing yoga, meditation, perhaps Kriya, and he was, of course, mixing with friends and relatives and colleagues on the job, and they began to notice that there was something special about this person. They would just think, as Swami Kriyananda remarked, that this is a special person. But, he said, when they come to a community, a spiritual community such as Ananda, and they see all these people, then they have to say, yes, okay, they're special people, but it's what they're doing. And he said the impact, and that's why Master was so strong in talking about World Brotherhood colonies, and without question so thrilled when Swami Kriyananda did start Ananda in the late 60s as the first World Brotherhood colonies, one of the important aspects of Master's mission. It's very important because when you see a collection of people, you think that this is possible. I know when I first got to Ananda and saw all these angels as they are today and in India and worldwide, I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know if they're going to let me in. And I've heard that, more than once, people being concerned, oh my gosh, can I be a part of this? Well, of course we can. That's why one of the most important qualities on the spiritual path is sincerity. And all that we need to do is to sincerely ask God, please help me. I need help, as it was the case with Swami. He said, hard to believe when we think of Swami and read his writings and listen to his music, but prior to reading the autobiography of a yogi and coming to Los Angeles to be with Master, he said his situation was desperate, absolutely desperate, such that he was planning to go to South America to be a hermit, because he thought, at least I can be alone, free of distractions, and see what I can do to deepen my awareness and to lift my consciousness. But he had to acknowledge, and he did, that he would be there in the jungle, but how could he be confident that he would grow spiritually? And then, through a miracle, truly, he found the autobiography of a yogi, and then came to Yogananda and was accepted. Another miracle, very quickly, that day that he met Yogananda, he was accepted as a disciple. And so for us, it's good to reflect on what the Bible itself says, where two or more gathered, there I am in the midst of them. Because we need to remind ourselves of that honeymoon period. We need to remind ourselves of what Ananda has done in the last 50 years, which is simply just starting with an idea, with a person or two, and the next thing we know, this wonderful, whatever it might be, project comes out of the ground. Swami Kriyananda in Palo Alto came to a very well-known bookstore called East West in its original location in Menlo Park. And he was talking to the woman who owned the store and found out that she was keen on retiring and was looking for someone to buy the store. And she said to Swami, would you like to buy? Well, he didn't have any money, but from within, welling up, he said, yes, we'll buy it. And as it turned out, that's exactly what happened. And he brought two of the Ananda people down, Jacqueline and Vasudeva, husband and wife, to run the bookstore. And they said, Swami, we've never done anything like this. How do we get started? And Swami said, the customers will tell you. And they said, that's exactly what happened. They would ask the customer, would you like to tell me, what would you like? What kind of book would you like? What kind of experience? They were doing workshops and so forth. What would be something that would help you? And it just grew from there. And so story after story after story, as we find here in India. Who would have thought? Back now, boy, it's getting close to 20 years. Back in 2003, Swami came. He was in his mid-70s. He had this strong feeling in his heart that he would love to expand Master's teachings here, bring Ananda to India, and he did. And the last 10 years of his life, he spent time in India and in America, in Europe, in other places as well, doing what he could, which was enormous, to build the magnetism and the vibration here. And so, yes, let's remember often to go on pilgrimage to that point in time when we first found God, when we first found that book, when that friend told us, oh, there's a place called Ananda, would you like to come? So many experiences all of us have had. And remember too, that as we tune into the blessing of the Guru, as Master said again and again, attunement, that's what is required. Be in tune with the Guru. As we're able to be in tune, then we will find in our own humble way that whether it's a little project, whether it's a medium-sized or large project, it's not us doing it, it will be the Guru. Swami Kriyananda took no credit for his enormous productivity in all the books that he wrote and the songs that he composed and the lectures, all of that, building community. He said, I couldn't have done it. It would have been impossible. It was the Guru. It was simply him acting as an instrument. And the more we're able to do that through prayer in so many, many ways, we find that the Guru truly is not only living in our hearts, but we start to really feel that our heart is singing with his presence. Because as we're meditating, we're feeling he's meditating through us. As we're doing our seva, he's doing seva through us. As we're enjoying our satsang, even as we're being creative in this way through Zoom, then that too. It's not just what we're gaining from all of these various means of growing spiritually. Primarily, it's what we're giving. And as we change that very important attitude, what can we give? And we have much to be thankful for. And so in that way, really what we give, as Swamiji Kriyananda said, especially towards the end of his life, all I want to give to people is my bliss. And my prayer is that they will receive this. And of course, to pass it on. And that's really what we're doing for one another in spiritual family, is in a selfless way, just doing what the Guru wants. And embracing nishkam karma, desireless action. And so whether we're serving as a housewife or in the business world or whatever we're doing, feel that we're doing it for God and Guru, as Yogananda used to say God, Christ, Guru, God, Christ, Guru. Feeling that more and more we're being an instrument for that supreme consciousness. And so, yes, this world is a dream, as the yogis say, but this dream is here. We're experiencing this dream because the dream gives us the opportunity to learn needed lessons. And what is the primary lesson in life? The purpose of life? To wake up from this dream. And as we awaken from this dream, then to share the blessings that come into our lives, especially joy, love, compassion, the many spiritual qualities, share with others in any way that we can. Again, it's more blessed to give than to receive. So God bless you all. Again, it's a joy to be with you in this way. And now we'll have our Aarti and blessing. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. 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 Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
like to invite you for the blessing. And for those who would like to receive the blessing, offer a prayer of gratitude to the infinite Christ, in whose love our line of masters have descended, that we might all come to God. Pray too for the grace to share with all as you have received, for you are part of all that is. May the light of the great masters shine upon you. Oh. Oh. Shanti, Shanti. Now let's close with a healing prayer. Include all those souls that you know who are in need of healing energy. Surround them and fill them with the light of the masters. Feel Divine Mother's healing power, healing them on every level of their being, body, mind, and soul. And extend this healing power and love to touch souls everywhere in the world, our whole planet, and souls in need everywhere. Let's pray. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent, thou art in all thy children, thou art in these souls. Manifest thy healing presence in all bodies, in all minds, and in all souls. Oh. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Go out with joy.